Have you ever nurtured a dream so fragile, so deeply personal, that the mere thought of sharing it felt like exposing a tender wound to the harsh wind? Such was the world of Anna, a woman whose beauty was a soft, understated glow, like winter light filtering through frosted panes. At 24, Anna carried herself with a quiet grace, her shoulders curving inward ever so slightly, a silent testament to a past that had taught her caution. Her light pink wool dress, a gentle embrace against the chill of the winter air, seemed to echo her delicate nature. Tonight, Anna was waiting for a blind date, a nervous flutter in her stomach, a fragile hope blossoming in her heart. This wasn't just any date. It was a tentative step back into a world she had retreated from, a world that had once promised love and then delivered a crushing betrayal. Her last relationship had left an indelible mark, a deep fissure in her confidence, making her believe that her quiet strength was a weakness, her thoughtful silence a flaw. The cafe, a haven of warmth and soft lighting, felt both comforting and intimidating. Each clink of a coffee cup, each murmur of conversation, seemed amplified, a symphony of other people's vibrant lives, while Anna sat alone. Hopeful note. She fiddled with the strap of her small purse, her eyes occasionally drifting towards the entrance, a silent prayer on her lips that this time, just this once, things would be different. She wasn't looking for grand gestures or dramatic declarations. She simply yearned for connection, for someone who could see beyond the quiet exterior to the vibrant soul within. Her talent, a remarkable gift for crafting intricate, miniature worlds within glass terrariums, was a secret she guarded fiercely. Each tiny ecosystem, a testament to resilience and delicate beauty, was a mirror to her own longing for growth and renewal. But who would ever truly see that? Who would understand the profound stories she wove with moss and tiny figurines? The cafe door chimed, and Anna's heart gave a hopeful leap, only to settle back into its rhythmic beat as a different figure entered. The minutes stretched, each one feeling like an hour, and the knot of anxiety in her stomach tightened. Was she foolish to hope? Was she destined to remain a background character in her own story, forever observing life from a distance? The weight of past rejections pressed down on her, a familiar, unwelcome cloak. Yet, beneath it all, a tiny ember of defiance flickered, a silent vow that she wouldn't let her past define her future, no matter how daunting the present seemed. She took a slow, deep breath, trying to calm the tremor in her hands. This was a risk, yes, but isn't every step towards healing a risk? Isn't every attempt at connection an act of courage? The thought, though small, brought a faint blush to her cheeks, a fleeting moment of self-acceptance in a sea of doubt. The cafe door chimed again, a more insistent, almost dramatic sound this time. Anna's gaze, which had been fixed on the condensation patterns on her water glass, flickered up. A woman stood in the doorway, her presence immediately commanding attention. She was older, perhaps in her late 60s, but carried herself with an air of regal authority, softened by a warmth that radiated from her dark, intelligent eyes. Her dark green dress, exquisitely tailored, spoke of understated elegance and quiet power. She surveyed the room, her gaze sweeping over the tables, and then, with an almost imperceptible nod, honed in on Anna. Anna felt a strange pull, a sense of being seen, not just observed. The woman began to walk towards her, her steps measured and deliberate, and with each step, a faint, almost imperceptible hum of anticipation filled the air around Anna. Was this her date's mother? The thought was absurd, yet a tiny seed of curiosity had been planted. The woman reached Anna's table, a gentle smile gracing her lips, but her eyes held a hint of apology, a shadow of concern. "Are you Anna?" she asked, her voice a melodic blend of authority and kindness, with a distinct, charming accent that Anna couldn't quite place. Anna, caught off guard, managed a small nod, her voice momentarily caught in her throat. "Yes, I am," she finally managed, her voice a soft murmur. The woman's smile deepened, a genuine warmth spreading across her face. "My name is Mrs. Lee," she introduced herself, her hand extending in a graceful gesture. Anna took it, finding the grip firm and reassuring. "My son, Hyunwoo, is terribly sorry. He's running late, Mrs. Lee's words hung in the air, unexpected and yet strangely comforting. Hyunwoo. So, this was her date's mother. The initial shock gave way to a wave of relief, mixed with a fresh surge of anxiety. It was unusual, certainly, for a blind date's mother to arrive first, but there was something disarmingly sincere about Mrs. Lee that immediately put Anna at ease. Mrs. Lee settled into the chair opposite Anna, her movements fluid and elegant. He insisted I come ahead, she explained, a hint of exasperation, yet also pride in her tone. He's a very busy man, unfortunately, with demanding responsibilities. But he wouldn't want to keep you waiting alone, especially on such a cold evening. Her gaze held Anna's, a silent message of understanding passing between them. Anna felt a blush creep up her neck. Oh, it's quite all right, Mrs. Lee, she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. It happens, but deep down, a familiar ache resurfaced. Was this a sign? Another instance of being overlooked, of being deemed less important than demanding responsibilities? The old wounds, though carefully stitched, still throbbed occasionally. Mrs. Lee, as if sensing Anna's unspoken thoughts, reached across the table and gently patted her hand. Please call me Hannah, she said, her voice soft. And don't worry, my son is a good man, despite his sometimes overwhelming schedule. He truly values punctuality, which is why this is so unusual for him. Something truly unforeseen must have come up. Her words were a balm, a gentle reassurance that quieted the rising tide of Anna's self-doubt. Hannah's eyes, full of a deep, knowing wisdom, seemed to peer into Anna's very soul, seeing the fragility beneath the polite exterior. Anna felt a strange sense of comfort in this unexpected encounter. Perhaps this wasn't just a blind date. Perhaps it was something more, something entirely different. Could an unexpected detour lead to the very path she was meant to take? Hannah settled more comfortably into her seat, her gaze still fixed on Anna with an almost maternal warmth. So, Anna, she began, her voice a gentle inquiry, tell me a little about yourself. Hyunwoo has told me a little, of course, but I prefer to make my own judgments. There was a playful glint in her eyes, a hint of mischief that belied her sophisticated demeanor. Anna, still slightly flustered by the unexpected turn of events, found herself relaxing under Hannah's attentive gaze. It had been a long time since someone had looked at her with such genuine interest, without the undercurrent of judgment or the superficiality that often accompanied new introductions. Oh, there's not much to tell, really, Anna demurred, a familiar shyness creeping into her voice. She felt a pang of inadequacy, a fear that her quiet life, her solitary passions, would seem uninteresting to this elegant woman. I work in a small gallery, and I enjoy creating terrariums in my spare time. She hesitated, wondering if she should elaborate on her artistic passion, but the old fear of being misunderstood held her back. Hannah's smile widened. Terrariums? How fascinating. Miniature worlds, yes? A reflection of life contained, cared for, nurtured. That sounds like a truly beautiful art form, Anna. Don't underestimate the power of creating beauty in small spaces. Sometimes, the most profound things are found in the details. Wouldn't you agree? Her words were like a gentle rain on parched earth, nourishing the seeds of Anna's confidence. Hannah didn't dismiss her, didn't find her passions mundane. Instead, she saw the deeper meaning, the artistry, the care. Anna felt a warmth spread through her chest, a feeling of being truly seen for the first time in a long while. Yes, Anna replied, her voice gaining a little strength. I suppose so. I find a certain peace in them. In building something resilient, even when it feels fragile, she thought of her own carefully constructed emotional walls, the way she had tried to build a sense of peace within her own guarded world. Hannah nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. Peace is a precious commodity, Anna. And resilience even more so. Life, you see, is full of unexpected storms. It's how we weather them, how we rebuild, that truly defines us. Her gaze softened, and a hint of a past sorrow flickered in her eyes, quickly masked. My son, Hyunwoo, he too has faced his share of storms. He carries a heavy burden, a weight that few truly understand. He lost his father very young, and then, a few years ago, his wife. It has made him cautious. distant, perhaps. To those who don't know him well, Hannah's voice was laced with a quiet sadness, a mother's concern for her grieving child. Anna listened, her heart aching with empathy. So, Hyunwoo was not just busy, he was also wounded, just like her. A different kind of wound, perhaps, but a shared experience of loss and the rebuilding that followed. The thought created an unexpected bond, a silent understanding between them. Hannah continued, her voice a gentle stream of revelation. He has dedicated himself to his work, to honoring his father's legacy. He runs a very significant enterprise. It consumes him, I fear. He rarely takes time for himself, for joy, for connection. That is why I was so pleased when he agreed to this blind date. It was a rare step for him, a sign, I hoped, that he might finally be ready to open his heart again. Anna felt a surge of mingled emotions, apprehension at the thought of meeting a man so burdened, and a strange, quiet hope that perhaps, just perhaps, their shared experiences of loss and rebuilding could be a bridge, rather than a barrier. Could two broken pieces, when carefully aligned, form a mosaic more beautiful than either could have been alone? As Hannah spoke of Hyunwoo's past, a quiet sadness settled over their table, a shared understanding of the invisible scars life inflicts. Anna found herself listening intently, drawn into the narrative of a man she hadn't yet met, but whose emotional landscape was beginning to unfold before her. Hannah's words painted a picture of a man driven by duty and grief, a successful professional whose outward strength concealed a deep, unaddressed sorrow. He took over his father's business at a very young age, Hannah explained, her voice tinged with both pride and regret. It was a monumental task, a vast network of enterprises. He felt the weight of responsibility acutely, especially after his father's sudden passing. And then, when she was taken from us too soon, it was as if a part of him simply closed off. He built walls, Anna. Strong, impenetrable walls around his heart, believing that was the only way to protect himself from further pain. Anna recognized the sentiment, the desperate need to shield oneself from the sharp edges of grief. She knew those walls, had meticulously constructed her own after her betrayal, brick by painful brick. She understood the logic, the misguided belief that isolating oneself was a form of self-preservation. But she also knew the profound loneliness that came with it, the quiet yearning for someone to see past the facade. It must have been incredibly difficult for him, Anna murmured, her voice soft with genuine empathy. She imagined the immense pressure, the dual burdens of professional legacy and personal tragedy. It was a weight that would crush most people, but Hyunwoo, it seemed, had simply absorbed it, allowing it to solidify into a stoic resolve. Hannah nodded, a wistful sigh escaping her lips. He is a man of immense strength, Anna, but even the strongest foundations can crack under relentless pressure. He has forgotten how to simply be, how to find joy in the ordinary, how to let love in. He believes he must constantly protect, constantly control. It's a lonely path, darling. Her gaze returned to Anna, a silent plea in her eyes. When he agreed to this meeting, I saw a flicker of hope, a tiny crack in those formidable walls. He's been so focused on his work, on his obligations, that he has neglected his own heart for too long. I believe he needs someone who understands the quiet language of healing, someone who can see the man beneath the armor. Anna felt a sudden, unexpected surge of trepidation. Was Hannah subtly implying that Anna was that person? The thought was overwhelming, a responsibility she wasn't sure she was ready to bear. She, who was still piecing together the fragments of her own shattered confidence, how could she possibly help someone else rebuild? Yet there was also a spark of something else, a deep-seated desire to connect, to understand, to offer comfort. Her own journey of healing had taught her the profound power of empathy, the quiet strength found in shared vulnerability. I understand, Anna said, her voice barely a whisper. It's hard to let go of the past, to trust again. She thought of her own terrariums, the careful balancing act of creating a thriving ecosystem, even when the initial components felt broken or barren. It was a slow, deliberate process, requiring patience and a gentle touch. Could the same principles apply to mending a human heart? Could two souls, each bearing their own unique wounds, find solace and strength in each other's presence? Hannah reached across the table again, her hand gently covering Anna's. You have a kind heart, Anna. I can see it. And sometimes, kindness is the most powerful force for healing. It's not about fixing someone, darling. It's about being present, about offering a space for growth, for light to enter. Her words resonated deeply with Anna, echoing the quiet philosophy she applied to her terrariums. It wasn't about forcing growth, but about providing the right conditions for it to flourish naturally. The cafe door chimed once more, a softer, less dramatic sound this time. Both women looked up, their conversation momentarily suspended. And there, framed in the doorway, stood Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo was a commanding presence, even from across the room. He wasn't overtly flashy, but his tailor dark suit, impeccably cut, spoke of authority and meticulous attention to detail. His dark hair was neatly styled, and his features, though handsome, were etched with a seriousness that hinted at the burdens Hannah had described. His eyes, dark and intense, scanned the room, instantly finding Hannah and then, almost reluctantly, settling on Anna. There was an undeniable air of quiet power about him, a subtle intensity that made the other patrons seem to fade into the background. As he began to walk towards their table, his gait was purposeful, each step radiating a controlled strength. Anna felt a fresh wave of nervousness wash over her. This was the man whose life was a tapestry woven with duty and grief, the man who had built formidable walls around his heart. Could she, the quiet artist of miniature worlds, possibly connect with someone so formidable, so seemingly distant? He reached the table and, with a subtle nod, acknowledged Anna before turning to his mother. Mother, he said, his voice a deep, resonant baritone, a stark contrast to Hannah's gentle tones. There was a touch of deference, but also a hint of underlying tension in his voice. I apologize for my tardiness. There was an unforeseen complication, he didn't elaborate, and Anna noticed the way his jaw subtly tightened, a fleeting glimpse of the pressure he carried. Hannah smiled, a knowing glint in her eyes. It's quite all right, Hyunwoo. Anna and I have had a lovely chat. We were just discussing the delicate art of nurturing resilience. She gave a pointed look, a subtle message passed between mother and son. Hyunwoo's gaze flickered to Anna, a brief, almost imperceptible softening in his intense eyes. Anna, he said, his voice a little less formal now, though still reserved. He extended a hand, his touch firm and surprisingly warm. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Again, my sincerest apologies for the delay. Anna took his hand, feeling a jolt of something she couldn't quite name, a mix of apprehension and a strange, undeniable intrigue. It's nice to meet you too, Hyunwoo, she replied, her voice a little softer than she intended. She noticed a faint, almost imperceptible scar tracing his right eyebrow, a tiny imperfection that somehow made his otherwise stoic face more human. He settled into the third chair, his presence immediately filling the space, shifting the dynamic of their cozy corner. The air became charged with an unspoken energy, a blend of his quiet intensity and Anna's gentle anticipation. Hannah, ever the astute observer, seemed to sense the slight awkwardness, the invisible barrier that still existed between the two. Hyunwoo, Anna creates exquisite terrariums, she prompted, clearly trying to find common ground. She brings miniature worlds to life. Hyunwoo turned to Anna, a flicker of genuine curiosity in his eyes. Terrariums, he echoed, the words sounding foreign on his lips. That sounds unique. A delicate pursuit. Anna felt a familiar blush creep up her neck. She struggled to explain her passion, knowing that to someone like Hyunwoo, whose world was undoubtedly one of grand scale and high stakes, her art might seem trivial. Yes, she began, choosing her words carefully. They're small, self-sustaining ecosystems. They represent growth, resilience, the ability to thrive even in confined spaces. She looked directly at him, hoping he would understand the deeper metaphor. Hyunwoo listened, his expression unreadable, but Anna sensed a subtle shift in his demeanor, a hint of something beyond mere politeness. Was it possible that this man, burdened by so much, could see the profound beauty in small, delicate things? Could he, too, yearn for a contained, resilient world, free from the storms he constantly battled? The question hung in the air, unspoken but potent. Hyunwoo's gaze lingered on Anna, a thoughtful silence stretching between them. His intense eyes, which had initially seemed so guarded, now held a hint of introspection. He wasn't just hearing her words, he seemed to be processing them, weighing their meaning against the backdrop of his own complex life. Resilience, he repeated, the word a low murmur. Yes, that's a quality I understand. In my line of work, it's not just appreciated, it's essential. The ability to endure, to adapt, to rebuild, it's the cornerstone of any lasting enterprise. There was a weariness in his tone, a subtle acknowledgement of the constant battles he fought, both professionally and, as Hannah had revealed, personally. Anna felt a ripple of understanding. Their worlds, seemingly so disparate, shared this fundamental principle, the necessity of resilience. Whether it was a miniature ecosystem thriving behind glass or a vast business empire weathering economic storms, the underlying need to adapt and persist remained the same. It's about finding strength in vulnerability, isn't it? Anna ventured, emboldened by his openness. About understanding that sometimes the most rigid structures are the most easily broken. But something that can bend, something that can grow around obstacles, that's truly strong. She thought of the tiny plants in her terrariums, pushing through layers of soil and rock, seeking light. Hyunwoo looked at her then, a direct, piercing gaze that made her heart flutter. For a moment, the guardedness in his eyes seemed to lift, revealing a glimpse of the man beneath the professional facade. An interesting perspective, he conceded, a faint, almost imperceptible curve to his lips that might have been the beginnings of a smile. Most people associate strength with unwavering rigidity. But you see it differently. He paused, his gaze drifting to the window, where snowflakes were beginning to dance outside, illuminated by the cafe's warm glow. My father always said that a true leader isn't afraid to rebuild, to admit when a foundation needs strengthening. But after his passing, and then after my wife's, I confess, I focused more on reinforcing the existing walls, rather than finding new ways to build. His voice was tinged with a regret that was both profound and deeply personal. Hannah, who had been observing their exchange with a quiet satisfaction, gently interjected, and sometimes, Hyunwoo, it takes someone else to show you where the new foundations can be laid. Someone with a different kind of vision. Her words were a subtle nudge, a gentle push towards connection. Hyunwoo's eyes returned to Anna, a flicker of something unreadable passing between them. He was a man accustomed to control, to leading, to making decisive choices. Yet, in Anna's presence, and under his mother's watchful eye, he seemed to be allowing himself a rare moment of introspection, of questioning his own carefully constructed defenses. He saw her quiet strength, the gentle wisdom in her eyes, and for the first time in a long time, the weight of his world felt a little less solitary. Could it be that the strength he so desperately sought wasn't in the unwavering rigidity of his walls, but in the delicate, resilient growth that Anna championed? Could a quiet afternoon in a cafe, with an unexpected companion and a mother's subtle guidance, be the start of a different kind of building? The conversation between Anna and Hyunwoo, initially tentative, began to flow with a surprising ease, guided by Hannah's subtle prompts and the shared ground of resilience. They spoke of their work, their passions, the delicate balance between control and letting go. Hyunwoo, surprisingly, found himself drawn to Anna's quiet wisdom, her ability to articulate profound truths with such gentle clarity. He found himself listening, truly listening, in a way he hadn't in years. He even managed a genuine, albeit fleeting, smile when Anna described a particularly stubborn moss she had once tried to cultivate. It sounds like a metaphor for life, doesn't it? He mused, a rare lightness in his voice. Some things simply refuse to be tamed. No matter how much effort you put in, Anna chuckled softly, a melodic sound that brought a warmth to the chill of the evening. Indeed. And sometimes, the most beautiful things are the ones that grow wild, untamed by our expectations. As the evening progressed, Anna found herself surprisingly comfortable in Hyunwoo's presence. Beneath his formidable exterior, she sensed a deep well of kindness, a man profoundly affected by loss, yet striving to do good. His intensity, which had initially been intimidating, now seemed like a manifestation of his passion and his unwavering commitment to his responsibilities. Hannah, observing them, felt a quiet joy bloom in her heart. She saw the subtle shifts in her son's demeanor, the way his shoulders seemed to relax slightly, the way his gaze lingered on Anna. It was a rare sight, and a hopeful one. Just as they were about to order a second round of drinks, the cafe door chimed again, and a new figure entered, instantly disrupting the delicate equilibrium they had found. He was a man in his late 20s, impeccably dressed, with an air of self-importance that seemed to fill the room. His eyes, cold and calculating, swept over the cafe, landing with a possessive glint on Hyunwoo. This was Singwo, a rival in Hyunwoo's business world, a man known for his ruthless ambition and superficial charm. Sangwoo strode directly to their table, a forced smile on his face that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Hyunwoo, what a surprise to find you here," he said, his voice dripping with feigned cordiality, but with an unmistakable edge of challenge. His gaze flickered dismissively over Anna, and then settled on Hannah, a flicker of respect mingling with his usual arrogance. "Mrs. Lee, always a pleasure," Hannah offered a polite but cool nod, her smile fading. Hyunwoo's entire posture stiffened, the relaxed air he had cultivated with Anna vanishing in an instant. His jaw tightened, and his eyes, which had softened moments before, now held a steely resolve. "Sangwoo," he acknowledged, his voice devoid of warmth. "To what do we owe this unexpected visit?" Sangwoo chuckled, a hollow sound. "Just passing by, saw your car. And then, I couldn't help but notice you're on a date." With a lovely companion, his eyes lingered on Anna, a possessive, judgmental stare that made her skin crawl. "Though, I must say, Hyunwoo, I'd have expected someone more aligned with your usual circles. Perhaps someone with a more established pedigree." The words were a venomous dart, aimed not just at Anna, but at Hyunwoo, a deliberate attempt to undermine and belittle. Anna felt a flush of humiliation rise to her cheeks. The old wounds of inadequacy, of being deemed not enough, resurfaced with a painful intensity. Her shoulders curved inward instinctively, a defensive gesture she had perfected over years. Hyunwoo, however, remained outwardly calm, though Anna could feel the tension radiating from him. His eyes, however, burned with a quiet fury. "Sangwoo," Hyunwoo said, his voice dangerously low, "I believe you are interrupting a private conversation, and your opinions on my choices are neither solicited nor welcome." The confrontation hung heavy in the air, a stark contrast to the gentle intimacy they had shared moments before. Could the delicate connection they were building withstand the harsh glare of external judgment and ruthless ambition? Sangwoo's sneer deepened, clearly enjoying the discomfort he had caused. He wasn't just attempting to belittle Anna, he was trying to assert dominance over Hyunwoo, to chip away at his carefully maintained composure. "Oh, am I interrupting?" "My apologies," he drawled, though his tone conveyed anything but. "It's just that word travels fast, Hyunwoo. Rumors of your expanding interests, shall we say. And I simply wanted to ensure that you're not letting personal distractions interfere with your professional obligations, especially with the upcoming bids for the downtown redevelopment project. It's a very competitive field, wouldn't you agree? One needs to be entirely focused." His words were a thinly veiled threat, a reminder of the cutthroat world Hyunwoo inhabited, and a clear attempt to imply that Anna was a liability. Anna felt a cold dread creep into her heart. She was witnessing firsthand the relentless pressure Hyunwoo faced, the constant scrutiny, and the personal attacks disguised as professional concern. She also realized, with a painful clarity, that her presence was indeed a potential weakness for him in this ruthless environment. Her quiet nature, her artistic pursuits, were easily dismissed as frivolous by men like Sangwoo. Hannah, ever the protector, finally spoke, her voice laced with a cool authority that cut through Sangwoo's arrogance. "Sangwoo, I believe you have made your point. Perhaps it is time for you to return to your own professional obligations and allow us to enjoy our evening in peace." Her gaze was unwavering, a silent challenge that even Sangwoo found difficult to meet. Sangwoo's smile faltered, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. He knew better than to directly cross Mrs. Lee. He gave a slight, dismissive shrug, his eyes darting back to Anna with a final, contemptuous glance. Of course, Mrs. Lee. My apologies. Just looking out for Hyunwoo's best interests as always. Good evening, with a final, smarmy nod. He turned and exited the cafe, leaving behind a lingering chill that belied the warmth of the interior. The tension in the air, however, did not immediately dissipate. Hyunwoo's jaw was still clenched, his eyes burning with a controlled fury. The brief moment of lightness they had shared was shattered, replaced by the harsh reality of his world. Anna felt a profound sense of guilt. She had inadvertently brought this unwelcome intrusion into Hyunwoo's life. Her presence, instead of being a source of comfort, had become a target for his rival. Hyunwoo, I'm so sorry, she began, her voice barely a whisper, her eyes downcast. I didn't mean to cause any trouble, he turned to her then, his expression still intense, but the anger in his eyes softened as he looked at her. He saw the genuine distress on her face, the way her shoulders were once again curved inward, the fragile hope in her eyes replaced by self-blame. Anna, you have nothing to apologize for, he said, his voice firm, leaving no room for argument. Sang-woo is a snake. He would have found another reason to intrude, another way to try and destabilize me. This has nothing to do with you. He is simply a deeply insecure man who thrives on others' discomfort. He reached across the table, his hand gently covering hers, a gesture of reassurance that surprised them both. His touch was warm, comforting, a silent promise that he did not blame her. Please, he continued, his voice softer now, don't let him ruin our evening, or your perception of this. He is not worth your beautiful energy. Anna looked up, meeting his gaze. In his eyes, she saw not just reassurance, but a quiet plea for understanding, a desire to protect her from the ugliness of his world. The vulnerability she had glimpsed earlier was now more apparent, a raw honesty that touched her deeply. Could two people, each bearing their own burdens, find strength not just in their resilience, but in the gentle act of protecting each other from the storms of the world? The incident with Sang-woo, though brief, cast a long shadow over the rest of the evening. The lightness that had begun to bloom between Anna and Hyunwoo was replaced by a more somber understanding of the complex realities that shaped his life. Anna, however, was no longer consumed by guilt. Instead, a fierce, protective instinct stirred within her. She saw Hyunwoo not just as a formidable professional, but as a man under relentless attack, whose quiet moments of connection were precious and rare. As they walked out of the cafe into the swirling snow, the city lights shimmering around them, Anna felt a strange sense of resolve. The cold air, usually a trigger for her to retreat further into herself, now felt invigorating. Hyunwoo insisted on walking her home, despite her protests that it was out of his way. The silence between them was no longer awkward, but comfortable, filled with unspoken thoughts and a growing sense of mutual respect. When they reached her apartment building, the snow had begun to fall more heavily, blanketing the streets in a pristine white. They stood for a moment under the shelter of the awning, the world around them hushed and serene. Thank you for tonight, Hyunwoo, Anna said, her voice soft. Despite everything, I truly enjoyed our conversation. She looked up at him, her eyes reflecting the gentle glow of the streetlights, searching for a sign of his true feelings. Hyunwoo's gaze was intense, unwavering. Anna, he began, his voice a low murmur. I apologize again for the interruption, and for the glimpse into the less pleasant aspects of my world. It's not typically how I introduce myself. He managed a small, self-deprecating smile. But I also want to thank you for listening, for understanding, for not judging. He paused, his eyes searching hers, a vulnerability in their depths that Anna hadn't seen before. And for your terrariums, your philosophy on resilience, it resonated with me more than you know. A warmth spread through Anna's chest. To be truly seen, truly understood, was a rare and precious gift. Perhaps, she ventured, we could continue our conversation sometime? Without the interruptions? A hopeful question, a tentative step into the unknown. Hyunwoo's smile finally bloomed, a genuine, breathtaking sight that transformed his serious face. It was a smile that reached his eyes, chasing away the shadows of grief and burden, revealing a warmth that had been hidden for too long. "I would like that very much, Anna," he said, his voice husky with emotion. More than you know, he took a small step closer, and for a moment, Anna thought he might lean in, perhaps even kiss her. Her heart pounded in anticipation. But instead, he simply reached out, his hand gently brushing a snowflake from her hair. His touch was fleeting, yet incredibly tender, a silent promise. "Good night, Anna," he said, his gaze lingering on hers. "Please take care," he turned then and walked away into the falling snow, his figure gradually disappearing into the wintry night. Anna watched him go, a profound sense of hope blossoming in her heart. The evening hadn't been what she expected, not a typical blind date by any stretch. But it had been something far more meaningful, a connection forged not just in shared interests, but in shared vulnerabilities and a mutual understanding of resilience. She realized then that healing wasn't about erasing the past, but about building new foundations, brick by gentle brick, with people who saw the beauty in your brokenness. Could this unexpected encounter, born from a mother's loving intervention and a rival's cruel jab, be the beginning of her own new, resilient world? The next few weeks became a delicate dance of cautious connection. Hyunwoo, true to his word, reached out. Their dates were not grand, flashy affairs, but quiet dinners, walks in the snow-covered park, and surprisingly, visits to small, independent art galleries where Anna felt comfortable sharing her passion. He listened intently as she spoke of her terrariums, her eyes lighting up as she described the intricate ecosystems she created. He learned about the precise balance of light and moisture, the resilience of tiny ferns, the symbolism of each carefully placed stone. And in turn, Anna began to see more layers of Hyunwoo. She learned about the immense pressure of his business, the complex decisions he had to make, the constant battles against rivals like Sangwoo. She saw the heavy burden of his father's legacy and the quiet ache of his personal losses. But she also saw his unwavering integrity, his deep sense of loyalty, and the surprising tenderness that lay beneath his stoic exterior. Hannah, ever the watchful matriarch, observed their budding relationship with a quiet satisfaction. She would occasionally call Anna, ostensibly to check in, but subtly offering words of encouragement and insight into her son's complex personality. "He needs someone who sees beyond the Mafia boss rumors, darling," Hannah once confided, a wry chuckle in her voice. "Someone who sees the man who still mourns his father and wife, the man who carries the weight of so many responsibilities. He needs gentleness, Anna. Even if he doesn't always know how to ask for it." Anna took Hannah's words to heart. She didn't try to fix Hyunwoo, or to force him to open up. Instead, she offered him a space of acceptance, a quiet sanctuary where he could simply be himself, without judgment or expectation. She shared her own vulnerabilities, the lingering pain of her past betrayal, the slow, arduous process of rebuilding her own confidence. And in sharing her story, she unknowingly gave him permission to acknowledge his own. One snowy afternoon, Hyunwoo surprised her with a visit to her small studio. He watched, fascinated, as she meticulously arranged tiny succulents and moss within a glass cloche. "It's like building a miniature world," he observed, his voice soft. "A world where everything is in harmony." Carefully balanced, Anna smiled. "It's a reminder that even in chaos, there can be order. And that even the smallest things can thrive. Given the right conditions." He picked up a small, smooth river stone she had placed in a terrarium. "And what about the broken things, Anna? The pieces that don't quite fit anymore?" Anna looked at him, her gaze gentle. "Sometimes, the broken pieces, when put back together with care, create something even more beautiful. Something with a story, with character. The cracks become part of the design, not flaws." Hyunwoo's eyes held hers, a profound understanding passing between them. He thought of his own brokenness, the cracks in his carefully constructed facade. Could it be that his own wounds, when acknowledged and tended to, could become part of a new, more beautiful design? Could Anna, with her gentle strength and her quiet wisdom, be the one to help him find the beauty in his own brokenness, to build a new foundation not just for his business, but for his heart? The transformation was subtle, almost imperceptible at first, like the slow unfurling of a delicate fern within a terrarium. Hyunwoo began to shed some of his guardedness in Anna's presence. He laughed more easily, shared more personal anecdotes, and even allowed himself moments of genuine vulnerability. Anna, in turn, blossomed under his quiet affection and unwavering respect. Her shoulders straightened, her voice gained a new confidence, and the light in her eyes shone brighter. Their connection deepened, woven with shared silences, understanding glances, and the quiet comfort of two souls finding solace in each other's presence. However, the world outside their gentle bubble remained. Sang-woo, ever watchful, saw the change in Hyunwoo, the softening around his edges, and interpreted it as a weakness. He escalated his attacks, spreading malicious rumors designed to undermine Hyunwoo's reputation and business dealings, hinting at personal improprieties. The pressure on Hyunwoo intensified, threatening to overwhelm the fragile peace he had found with Anna. One evening, Hyunwoo arrived at Anna's studio, his face etched with worry, the familiar tension in his jaw more pronounced than ever. Sang-woo is relentless, he admitted, his voice strained. He's trying to discredit me, to paint me as distracted, as someone who can't handle his responsibilities. He's using our connection against me, twisting it to imply I'm neglecting my duties for frivolous pursuits. Anna's heart ached for him. She saw the profound toll it was taking, threatening to drag him back into the lonely, guarded existence he had almost escaped. The old fear, the feeling of being a burden, threatened to resurface. But this time it was different. This time, she wasn't just afraid for herself. She was afraid for him. What can we do? Anna asked, her voice firm, a newfound strength in her eyes. We can't let him win, Hyunwoo. We can't let him define you, or us. Hyunwoo looked at her, a flicker of surprise in his eyes. He expected her to retreat, to be intimidated. Instead, he saw resilience, a fierce protectiveness that mirrored his own. He's called a press conference, Hyunwoo revealed, his voice grim, to address concerns about market stability. But I know it's a platform to publicly attack me, to try and force my hand on the redevelopment project. A heavy silence fell between them. It was a public arena, a battleground where he would be exposed and vulnerable. Anna thought of her terrariums, of how sometimes, to protect the delicate ecosystem, you had to ensure the foundation was strong enough to withstand external pressures. But this wasn't glass and moss. It was a man's reputation, his legacy, and their nascent love. Then we go together, Anna declared, her voice clear and unwavering. Hyunwoo stared at her, stunned. Anna, no. It's too dangerous. Too public. He will use you. He will try to hurt you to get to me. And let him. Anna countered, her eyes blazing with a quiet fire. No. If he wants to paint you as distracted, then let him see that your distraction is a source of strength, not weakness. Let him see that you have someone who stands with you, who believes in you. Our connection isn't a liability, Hyunwoo. It's an asset. It's real. And he can't touch that. Her words were a powerful declaration, a testament to the profound healing she had undergone and the unwavering belief she now held in their connection. Could a public display of unity, a quiet act of courage, be the very thing that shattered Sang-woo's insidious plans and cemented their love as an unbreakable foundation? The day of Sang-woo's press conference dawned crisp and cold, but Anna felt a warmth radiating from within. Dressed in a simple yet elegant ivory dress, a deliberate choice to convey quiet strength rather than overt glamour, she stood beside Hyunwoo, her hand gently but firmly linked with his. The room buzzed with reporters, cameras flashing, microphones thrust forward. Sang-woo, looking smug and confident, held court at the podium, his words dripping with insincere concern for market stability, while subtly, yet unmistakably, undermining Hyunwoo. He hinted at Hyunwoo's alleged personal life interfering with his professional judgment, suggesting a lack of focus that could jeopardize the crucial downtown redevelopment project. The reporters, sensing blood in the water, turned their attention to Hyunwoo, questions about his distractions flying thick and fast. Hyunwoo, usually stoic and reserved, felt a surge of anger, but also a profound sense of calm as he looked at Anna. Her presence, her unwavering support, was a shield against the venomous accusations. He squeezed her hand, a silent message of gratitude and resolve. Then, with a deep breath, he stepped forward, pulling Anna gently with him. The room fell into a stunned silence as the cameras focused on them, capturing the unexpected image of the formidable businessman and the quiet, beautiful woman by his side. "I am here today to address these baseless accusations," Hyunwoo began, his voice resonating with authority, yet tinged with an unexpected sincerity. "And to introduce you to Anna. She is not a distraction, as some would maliciously imply. She is a source of strength, of inspiration, and a testament to the kind of future I am committed to building, both professionally and personally." He turned to Anna, his gaze full of a tender devotion that silenced every cynical reporter in the room. "Anna has taught me the true meaning of resilience. She has shown me that true strength isn't about building impenetrable walls, but about nurturing growth, about finding beauty in what is broken, and about having the courage to rebuild. She is an artist who creates miniature worlds of harmony and life. And she has helped me to see that my own world, however complex, can also be rebuilt with the same care and vision." Anna felt tears welling in her eyes, overwhelmed by his public declaration, by the profound sincerity in his voice. This wasn't just a defense, it was a grand gesture, a public acknowledgement of their love, and a brave act of vulnerability from a man who had long guarded his heart. He then turned back to the reporters, his eyes blazing with a renewed resolve. "My commitment to this city, to my father's legacy, and to the success of the redevelopment project is unwavering. And my commitment to building a future founded on integrity, on growth, and on genuine connection is stronger than ever. Any attempts to undermine that, to use personal attacks disguised as professional concern, will fail, because true foundations, built on honesty and strength, cannot be shaken by superficial attacks." The press conference ended not with a scandal, but with a powerful message of resilience, love, and unwavering commitment. Sang-woo, his face a mask of furious disbelief, watched his schemes crumble before his eyes. The public, initially hungry for scandal, was instead captivated by the unexpected sincerity, the raw emotion of Hyunwoo's declaration. In the days and weeks that followed, the tide turned. Hyunwoo's reputation was not only salvaged but elevated. The redevelopment project moved forward with renewed public support, and Sang-woo's attempts to destabilize him backfired spectacularly, exposing his own ruthless tactics. Anna and Hyunwoo's love story, born from an unexpected meeting and forged in the crucible of public scrutiny, became a quiet inspiration. They continued to build their life together, brick by gentle brick, a testament to the power of healing, the strength found in vulnerability, and the enduring beauty of a love that dared to rebuild. Have you ever wondered if the greatest acts of courage are not always found in grand battles, but in the quiet, unwavering commitment to love, to healing, and to building a future, one resilient piece at a time?